Your journey.
Members of the media representing the player managers, and a very powerful trio it is. From Elite Sports Properties, Craig Kelly. From IMG, Liam Pickering, and the head of the Players Association, Brendan Gale. Welcome, boys. Thanks for your time. Square off against our esteemed colleagues, as I said, and they are powerful in their own right. Craig Hutchison and Caroline Wilson from Footy Classified, of course, and from the Herald Sun, Mark Robinson. Get things underway. Over to you, Caroline.
Liam, what are you? A player manager or a football commentator?
I think I'm probably, my main job's obviously as a player manager, but I do some part-time commentary on the weekends.
Watching you, it's very hard to know sometimes whether you're one or the other, and I just wondered when you're going to make the decision.
In what ways is it hard to know though, Carol?
Because you talk about a bloke and how well he's playing or how badly he's playing, and I'm always thinking, well, does he manage them? And I think you've got a conflict of interest.
Yeah, well, I mean, everyone's entitled to their opinion. I don't see that as an issue. I mean, you obviously
commentate. You're qualified to commentate, but I think you need to make a decision about which job you do better and pick one.
Well, that's your opinion. I mean, I don't see it as an issue at all. I mean, I'm commentating on the game. I'm not a High Court judge. I'm talking about football, Caroline. I mean, I know that you think it's the be-all and end-all.
Do you like football?
I love football.
You don't like the media, though, do you?
Well, I'm part of the media. I do like the media. I don't like the direction the media's going, no.
Question, Benny. Why, oh why, did you tell the AFL when I rang you at the start of the year about the gambling story, and you told the AFL and they sent out a release that night and told everyone, and my exclusive went boom?
I answer that in three ways, Mark. The first thing is I always try and return journos calls. The second thing is I never lie. And the third thing is if a journo rings me and has information that I think is prejudicial to the interests of players, individually or collectively, I've got a responsibility to act upon it. And so when you ring me with that information and tell me that a story's going to break about players getting caught up in the gambling rules, you know, I think I've got a responsibility to try and do something about it to mitigate the damage to players.
Brendan, you've got 3 players on 2 strikes in the competition that we know of. And you've got another player who's never tested positive under the AFL regime and under your regime, who's been castigated all over the country for drug use, and that's Ben Cousins. Have the Players Association failed Ben Cousins?
Have we failed Ben Cousins? Well, we put an illicit drug policy in place, well, the AFL did, with our support 2 years ago. With that, I guess, in contemplation of helping guys who might get in that sort of situation. Ben Cousins went through that and wasn't picked up. Now, I guess the response to that would be, do we test players 5 times a day, every day of the year? It's like saying, do we put a booze bus on every corner of every city street in Melbourne? If we did that, we'd certainly get every drink driver.
As the Players Association, if someone had a drug problem that deep, should you have known before it became public to the point that he couldn't play again this year?
Oh, look, I think that's unfair, Archie. I mean, I don't think we can be expected to know everything. I don't go prying into the private lives of players and, you know, about what they do and what they don't do. And
Craig, it's lovely to see you here. Speaking of conflicts of interest, I keep hearing that people are trying to get you, or you are looking at joining the Collingwood board. How on earth are you going to justify that?
Well,
because
Cara,
it's inevitable,
you wouldn't
isn't
hear
it?
that. I actually had that conversation with you. I actually asked you the question, what would you think if I was on the Collingwood board?
That was an off-the-record conversation.
That's absolutely. I'm happy to put it straight on the record here now, because at the end of the day, the best way to handle most of these issues is to be open and honest and upfront. Will it be a conflict? I think you'd have to disclose everything. And when it came down to dealing with some of the players at various clubs that potentially were going to end up or be discussed in the Collingwood environment, you'd put your hand up and remove yourself from that situation. Honestly, this conflict of interest rubbish, I think we as the industry feed ourselves a little bit and we make it a bigger issue than the punters and the fans and the members out there, and they're the ones that really count.
Ned, your biggest client's Gary Lyon, the man to your right. Is there an out clause in his contract so that he can coach, in his Channel 9 contract?
Well, I'm standing here, won't you?
I'm asking Ned. I've asked you before.
This is what annoys me with you guys, is that there's times when you just cross the line. It's none of your business. So shut up and get on with it.
The public interest, whether he coaches or not.
Why? Hutchie, I love this stuff. You just go to the level where you say it's in public's interest to disclose stuff.
Would you like Gary Lyon to coach?
No, it's up to him. He, like I said, we'll sit down.
What would your advice be?
He will sit down. I'll put all the options in front of him. It's his decision.
I'm the mediator. I'll tell you to shut up in a minute.
Do you two bet on footy?
I don't. Yeah, I've heard of it. Yeah.
Is that just a perk of the job?
I've got no idea what I'm doing.
No, is it a perk with the job that you manage so many players and you can ask them, you know, if they're playing or not playing or who's
No, mate, I wish I was that sophisticated with the whole process. I look at, if it's $5.60 and it's a 2-horse race, I might have a little $50 here on it. But, mate, I don't know who's... I would not have one conversation with a player if they're playing a game of football on a Saturday night or have been picked or not. I wouldn't do that.
Are player managers good for the game? Are they bad for the game, or are they just part of the game?
Player managers have got an increasingly important role in the game. As the commercial nature of the game has grown, you know, there's more at stake financially, and probably more at stake off the field, given the scrutiny that you guys put on players.
Any chance we could answer that? Because I mean, yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, I mean, our role is to look after the talent, look after the player. His role is to look after the whole group, Benny's role. The AFL is to make sure the thing goes forward. Together as a whole organisation, we want the game to get better. The most important thing we do, there is plenty of times, Robbo, when we are in conflict with these guys and with the AFL and with the club. And there's plenty of examples over the last couple of years where we've had to stand up for players' rights because the club wanted to make the right decision for the club, which they have to do. That may not be the right decision for the individual, and that's why we are essential.
All right, well, we're just going to draw a line there. Normally, I don't like to take sides, but I know that Liam particularly has been here since lunchtime today. He's gearing up, and Benny's showed some incredible intelligence in Benny, and I think they're shaking over you. And Ned, just do your best, big fella. Over to you guys, Pickers. Why don't you kick things off?
Caroline, you're, as far as I know, involved in at least 4 forms of the media. I want to ask you whether you feel you have a responsibility to promote the game. I'm wondering whether...
I have absolutely no responsibility to promote the game. I'm an independent journalist, and that is something that you just can't get your head around. Not you individually, you plural. I'm a journalist. My first love is newspapers.
Do you like the game?
I love it.
Do you love the
I've grown
players?
up loving it. I love some players. I don't like other players.
As a group, who regulates you guys? I mean, we get regulated as an industry by the AFL, by the Players Association, and ultimately a lot of it comes from you guys, which is fantastic.
Gary Lyon regulates me during ad breaks. My sports editor regulates me every single week.
But I often pick up the phone and say, sorry, I've made a mistake, and I apologise, and I do that to you guys, and I've done it to other people in the industry because we do make mistakes.
And I've done it to you.
Never seen you guys.
I wrote something about Gary a couple of years ago that was wrong, and not only did I ring him up and apologise to him, but I apologised on air as well.
Circumstances, but as a whole...
Women are good at saying sorry.
As a whole, do you think we're pushing the boundaries a little bit too far? I go back to the Didac one, Robbo, and it's your paper.
Yep.
That story about Alan having a fight with his girlfriend in a nightclub, that is overstepping the mark. Surely you guys have to realise, if you want to go and write that rubbish, go to London and work for the tabloids, because I don't think that should not happen in this town, in this country.
People are going to understand that that wasn't written by a football journalist.
No, but it comes back to you, Robbo.
It does come back to us. It does come back to us.
You are passionate about the game,
Bloody oath we are.
and well, you should be standing up and saying that is rubbish.
No, I'm not going to sit here and bag my newspaper.
I'm not asking
my
you to,
newspaper does
just
an
say-
outstanding job covering football. That day, obviously, was a pretty slow news day. Right? And I can accept that people would be critical of that decision to put that photo on the front.
I don't understand why we're out of line. We made a mistake. No one rang
on the border of all of that. Media is held more accountable for its mistakes than anyone because the whole world sees them. If you make a mistake in the media...
What a load of rubbish, mate. The only time you were held accountable when you had to pay...
If you go to work...
Pay because of a mistake you made with some St Kilda players, the only way you were held to justice was because someone took you to court or...
Oh, that's complete rubbish.
Mate, it's not rubbish.
Get your facts right. Fine your gun as hard as you can, but make sure your facts are right.
Did you not have to pay some damages to someone?
The mistake was made. I wore it. The mistake was made. The apology was made profusely within 5 minutes, which doesn't excuse the crime. And then for the rest of the day and for the rest of the year, I spent my time trying to redeem myself.
Robbo, you brought up the issue of gambling.
Yep.
Your paper,
Great paper.
4 days, run a campaign, described in terms of gambling crisis, gambling epidemic. I mean, big sort of headlines. Over 4 guys who punted on games, a couple of them $10 bet. Do you, in hindsight, regret the way that was actually described?
No,
Was it a crisis?
At early days it was, because no one really knew the extent of the gambling problem and how much money had been spent. And there's one thing that really brings a slur on this game, is just the mere thought that the combatants in this sport would bet on the sport, and that raises one ugly question and one query by everyone. Are they betting against their team? I mean, the integrity of the entire competition, you know, is on the players. And then when it was revealed that players were gambling on sport, I wasn't the only one who feared that our great game could have been compromised.
I understand your point.
And that's why we went so hard.
Another example of where you've gone with the story. I know you'll say you don't do the headlines because that's the easy out for the journalists and the print.
Truth pickers.
Yeah, well, you don't do the headlines. Okay, well, I would suggest...
I find that amazing, the headline, crisis. Surely, as your piece, you go, that just changes the whole perception of what that piece is about.
We do argue sometimes the headlines, there's no doubt about that. But one thing in this world, it's like you guys when you have an event and you advertise. And you got Nathan, but come and see the greatest show, and rah, rah, rah. You advertise for people to look. That's what you blokes do. And in a certain way, our newspaper puts a headline, read this. This is great, and that sometimes happens.
What happens when the story you did with Jeff Kennett? I mean, it had nothing to do with what he said. It didn't.
Now,
you know it did.
Now you
you know it did.
Let's just put a little marker here. You manage Alistair Clarkson.
No problem.
Well, I haven't heard anyone say it, so I thought I might just say it.
Okay, yeah.
Jeff Kennett once again criticised
Slam coach
Alistair Clarkson's game style.
Slam coach.
What?
Slam's own coach.
I did have an argument with Jeff about that. He had merit to argue that. But tell me another president who talks about... Tell me another president who talks about his coach's game style like Jeff Kennett does.
But he didn't slam the coach, Robbo. That was the headline.
Do we feed each other? Are we all about the industry, the grassroots people, the people that count, that go to the footy? Fair dinkum. We've got to pull our heads in a little bit as an industry, and let's not keep feeding ourselves. And you guys feeding them.
It's a horribly hypocritical stance here.
Exactly.
You've sold a multi-million-dollar company on the back of a brand that you built via the media. The media built your business.
You idiot.
The media built your entire business.
It's got nothing to do with the brand, mate. It's the bottom line, how much money they were making or wanted to make.
How much money would you have made without the media and the use of the media in that time?
No, I'm not saying it's not important. I'm just saying we've got to, I reckon, as an industry, we feed ourselves and we think it's that important. It's about ourselves, not about that.
It's built on the back of the media.
It is. You feed
these teams. Go and ask the fans out there. They don't care about the rubbish.
It's an industry and we love it. And Liam is right. We're not high court judges. We're not curing cancer. Some of us are independent and don't feed each other, Craig. That is just wrong.
You've controlled the media. So you've sold stories to New Idea and Women's Weekly with your clients.
Yep. That's a great get.
You've taken 20% of six-figure sums to control, manipulate the way. Manipulate the way that players' personal lives are told. Babies, weddings, marriages, you sell them all, and yet you sit back and criticise when one doesn't go your way.
We're winning.
Last question, Brendan.
Hutchie, a bloke in Ben Cousins put up his hand and said, look, I'm in all sorts of strife. I need help. He goes to get the help he so desperately needs. Was there a public interest in you desperately pursuing him?
There was, absolutely.
There was a public interest in you pursuing him on a plane?
Well, the question is wrong. He didn't put up his hand.
He didn't put his hand up for Wayne,
and he didn't say, I need help.
Caroline, your name, Caroline,
What was the act of getting on a plane and going to seek help?
There were media before he left. There were 15 media in Perth, there were 15 media in Sydney, and there were 15 media in LA, none of whom had any duty of care to the game or the competition, half of which were fly-by-night journalists that were in the place to actually whack him around the ears. I live in the industry. If anyone's going to have some sensitivity to a player, it's someone who actually has dealt with them over 10 years. And because I shared the same plane, and because I was upfront about it and went and spoke to his father and said, here's how I can handle this, I'll respect your privacy, where can I do, what can't I do, I'm the one that wears the public can for this. And if Ben Cousins had had the guts to say, I've got a problem, leave me alone, everyone would have. But because Ben Cousins hid behind his dad, he has to cop what comes his way, and that's public interest.
Where was he going? Was he going to Disneyland?
No, he was going to the Hollywood Hills.
We win.
My duty, as always, is to declare a winner. Robbo, just got you these boys over here. Thanks to Wizard Home Loans. We're going to take a break. We'll be back with more Footy Classified after this.